Welcome to the Highest Health Podcast. Raise your health, elevate yourself, and enrich your life. Experience a world of health sovereignty. As you near your highest health, you near your most luminous self. Welcome back to another episode of Highest Health. Today's guest is Dr. Natiya Guin. She is a licensed naturopathic doctor focused on raising healthy families and increasing confident health. Furthermore, she is an internationally published health and beauty photographer and writer whose images and articles have graced over a dozen magazines. Thanks so much for coming on today, Natiya. So appreciate you.
Natasha, thank you so much.
Why don't we get started by telling our listeners what a naturopathic doctor is?
Okay, great. So there's some confusion around what a naturopathic doctor is, and that's understandable because there are less of us than there are of medical doctors and doctors of osteopathy, which are the other two main sectors of licensed primary care providers. So a naturopathic doctor is a licensed primary care provider, and we're licensed via state. So depending on which state patients are in, they will have different types of access to their naturopathic doctors, and their naturopathic doctors will have a different level of how they practice, from things such as what they prescribe, whether they take insurance, the scope of practice. I'm in California, so I have a full scope of practice, which is really nice. And it's the same case in Hawaii, Rhode Island, Arizona, Oregon. And while we're working on getting national licensure, which is going to make naturopathic doctors more of a household name, like MDs and DOs are, it's also taking more time because we want to make sure that we don't lose the essence of what we do and what we believe in when we become nationally certified.
Right.
So let me share what those principles are that we want to make sure that we get to keep as we grow as a profession. And the main thing is that NDs are trained to treat the whole person. So yes, we learn about all the different systems. We learn about cardiovascular system, respiratory system, the endocrine system, but we look at all of these together. Whereas many of our MD colleagues, you go to one for one thing, one for another. And yes, NDs can specialize as well, but it's fundamentally how we look at the person and their health that is a different approach. And we have 6 principles. The first one is prevention. So if we can keep you healthy and get to you before there's any issue, that is our favorite.
I love it. My favorite too.
Yes. Next, we treat the whole person. So again, if you come to me for eczema, we are not just going to talk about your skin. We're going to talk about where that eczema is coming from, what's going on with your GI system, your detox pathways. Have you been on lots of antibiotics? Did your grandpa have it? I mean, there's so much more than just the thing that you're coming to the doctor for. So we treat the whole person. The next is my favorite, doctor as teacher. I think it's really important to empower my patients and share with them what I know in the context that they're ready for. Everybody wants to know a different amount when it comes to their medical care, and to make sure that they're empowered. It's about them. And each patient really is their own best doctor. And as an ND, I'm there to guide them.
That's beautiful.
So, thank you. Next, we heal with the power of nature. It's not me healing the patients. It's them and nature healing them.
I love that.
The last 2 are identifying and treating the root cause. So we love to be detectives. And the last is the same tenet that you will see for MDs and DOs: first, do no harm. That is the most important thing. We are there to help you. And it is really important that we make sure that we offer the least invasive therapies that have the least amount of toxic side effects, that we're always there to first do no harm.
Absolutely beautiful. Thank you for going through all of that, Natiya.
Yes, so those are the 6 principles of naturopathic medicine. And there are lots of other wonderful related fields. You'll hear people say they are naturopaths, and those are different programs where you learn some of the similar modalities without going through the steps of getting going through boards and actually becoming physicians. So naturopaths are wonderful too, and they're a different type of provider. So that's important to know if you're looking for an ND. Yeah.
That's a really good point of clarification. Excellent. So I love the fact that you have the training and the expertise, but you also have the experiential aspect of healing. Can you take us a little bit more into your own healing journey of when you broke all those bones and you were hit by a truck when you were only a child?
Yes, absolutely. So I think for many of us that end up in lifestyle and natural medicine, we have pretty incredible stories of why. And I know you do as well. Your first podcast shared some of that.
Yes.
And for me, partly I felt really blessed because I was raised by a massage therapist and acupuncturist. My mom had me, eating papayas on the beach and learning to walk on the beach in Mexico. And that's how I was raised. And I feel so very blessed that I had an inherent love for nature and understood that it provided for me. And it wasn't something that I take from without acknowledging it. So that was part of who I was since I was a baby. But I was raised in Los Angeles, in the middle of Los Angeles. So I had this dichotomy of loving being in nature, love being in the elements, always wanting to be in the water and eating organic foods. And then also the high stress of being right in the center of Hollywood. So I was, from a young age, always trying to balance the stress of life with my deep loving and knowing of what the earth provides for me. And then when on my 13th birthday, I had a real awakening. Because just before that, so when I was 12 years old, I was offered a scholarship to a private school for high school as a runner.
Wow.
And that was incredible because I came from a wonderful family, but we were never going to pay for private school for me. That was just not an option in my life at that time. And I got offered a scholarship, a running scholarship, to go to a private high school, which then, that's just an incredible foundation. And I was so excited and seeing, the future that I could have. And my very first day of the following year, I was walking home from school, and my best friend and I were crossing the street. It was green for us. It was a very big street. And someone on his lunch break did not see us and went through the intersection at about 45 miles per hour and hit my best friend and I. And it was just crazy timing because the whole summer I was looking forward to knowing more about the scholarship I was going to get. I was dedicated to just being the best athlete I could, being an inspiration for other poor kids. That if we work hard, we can have access to these wonderful programs. And literally the first day of school, that was taken from me.
Wow.
All because someone wasn't looking and he hit us in a pickup truck at 45 miles per hour. And
my goodness.
Yeah. And it was really challenging physically. I broke over a dozen bones, possibly more. And my best friend was unconscious for over 24 hours and had brain damage. So there was the physical, but then there was the emotional, This was my friend who was never going to be the same.
Wow.
And I wasn't sure if I was ever going to be the same. So it was made very clear to me that not only was my scholarship taken away because they didn't think I'd ever regain the strength that I had prior, I was also told by the medical center that I went to that I was definitely going to need neck surgery. And pretty quickly, my mom was told, we need to schedule this. We need to get your daughter in for spinal surgery on the C curve of my neck. And she said, whoa. Let's take a look at my daughter's injuries. Let's take a look at where she is in her growth. She's 13 years old. She's not done growing. Let's look at the inflammation. Give me a moment to see what else can be done before we rush into surgery. And she convinced my medical team to give her 3 months of natural treatments to see if we could get the inflammation down enough to avoid spinal surgery.
Wow.
And in that 3 months, she found my chiropractor, who I love to this day, Dr. George Jagopoulos, who helped me so much. She found other practitioners who supported me, and she kept my inflammation down with Chinese herbs, body work. And that's when yoga became a big part of my life. And at that point, nobody knew what yoga was. That was 30 years ago. At least nobody in LA knew about it yet.
Right.
So 3 months later, we did more x-rays and a CT. And long story short, the doctors at UCLA Medical Center could not believe how much my inflammation had come down.
Wow.
The bulging between my discs had come down, and the actual broken vertebrae had fused well enough that it wasn't obstructing anything anymore.
Wow.
And we no longer had to do surgery. And had I just listened to conventional medicine and we had not questioned it, I would have had a rod in my spine at 13 years old.
My goodness. That is one powerful story. And I am so thankful that you had a mom who intervened and already knew about these other practices. That is so powerful. I have to say, I'm so happy you healed, and you healed without a rod in your spine. I know being a photographer and being a naturopathic doctor are two of your life passions, which takes us into the healing arts aspect of your work. Can you elaborate more on the duality of medicine and the creative arts world, and how healing and art go hand in hand? I imagine a lot of this was inherent in your own healing.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just look at the title, Healing Arts. We talk about healing arts all the time, and yet you hardly ever see healing with art. Right. There's arts therapy. There's very specific places where there's healing arts, and yet that's encompassing so much. And so for me, healing and art go hand in hand, and they always have. I mean, even when I was recovering from that accident we just discussed, we had to be really creative in how I healed, right? We had to look at herbs and yoga and reducing how much stuff I carried to school. And creativity was really important in that. And then emotionally healing, I needed to be more expressive. Dance became part of my life because I was hurting for my friend and for myself. And so being able to express creatively was a huge part of my healing. And so as I got older and gravitated towards what I loved the most, it was science and photography. And with photography, I loved photographing women and seeing their response when they're like, wait, whoa, that's me? I loved it. I mean, there's just nothing better than showing somebody how beautiful they are. And that's everybody, but especially women. Again, growing up in LA, I knew the most beautiful women who they didn't even see themselves. You know, there was so much competition, and everybody's trying to be a model and an actor and a this and a that, and half the time they couldn't even see their gifts. And so, you know, my first job when I was 16 was as a photographer for a sports company, and so from there it kind of went yoga, beauty, inspire women, help them see how gorgeous they are inside and out. And at the same time, I was majoring in marine biology and deciding that I was going to be a doctor. And so it just took a little while to figure out how those go together. And I realized they were basically the same thing, whether you're inspiring somebody by getting their nutrition on point and getting them excited about exercise and sleeping better, or you're taking a picture of them that makes them see how incredible they are. You're doing the same thing. You're inspiring someone to see themselves and to honor themselves. And when we feel seen and we feel honored, we can live a deeper, better life. And we're more likely to make good health choices.
I have to share that I was a recipient of Natiya's photography almost 5 years ago now. And that's actually how we met at a medical conference where she was doing photography. And you are an incredible photographer because you just make the person you're photographing come alive. I just remember being a recipient and I was just like, we were in a hotel and a hotel lobby, but she makes you feel like you're on a tropical beach and you are just the only person in the room. And yeah, it was so much fun.
Thank you so much. I still remember the day we met and your glowing smile. And I didn't even know what you did for work then, but I just knew that I wanted you in my life. And so I feel really honored that 5 years later that we're still connected
Yes.
this way and beyond,
yes.
which you can share more about if you want to. When we met and I was taking the pictures for all these wonderful people in the health field, from nurses to doctors to nutritionists to health coaches to, everybody was there. I think the day I photographed you, I photographed Deepak Chopra. Like everybody was there. It was amazing. But also my day job was working for the doctor that runs that whole AIHM organization. I worked for Dr. Mimi Guineri at the time, who's a top cardiologist. So I love working with conventional doctors as well. So I think it's important to share that, there's nothing I love more than being an ND, except maybe taking incredible pictures of women that help them see how beautiful they are. But that I love working with other practitioners from different walks of life, including, a leading cardiologist.
Absolutely. Yeah, you do a beautiful job of merging your work with other practitioners' work, whether conventional or otherwise. Let's get into the concept of integrating service as a dossier into your service as a naturopathic doctor.
Yeah, so docere is the concept of doctor as teacher. And I really love to talk about this because I think that there are some misconceptions around medicine and how doctors should approach their work. And I think it depends. If a doctor is a brain surgeon and they don't really talk to their patients and they have one very, very specific job to do, how they communicate with their patients might be different than how I do. I like focusing on raising healthy families and on raising confidence so that people make good choices. So for the type of medicine I provide, being a teacher, being a listener, these are very important. Again, when if I'm going to go to the emergency room for a broken bone, I might have a different type of conversation with that doctor. So I don't think we all have to have the same approach, but I think part of the reason that there is so much mistrust in the medical field in our country, worldwide as well, but in our country, is because there's still so much that's kept secret from patients. Doctors only share as much as they want. Charts tend to be mostly closed still. You're told, as a patient, you're told the options your doctor wants to tell you, right? And that's very limiting. So if someone comes to me for their high cholesterol, they're going to hear totally different treatment options than they are from a cardiologist, down the way at the nearest hospital. And is that really fair to the patient? I think it's not.
Right.
So the concept of the doctor being the teacher, I try to have longer visits and create space to tell the patient all of their options. And if I don't know all of their options, so I'll tell them what I would like to do. Here are the natural ways that we can lower your cholesterol. Here's how we could maybe reduce that statin that you're on, but also let them know what the newest conventional treatments are. So if they want to go that route, they can. So I think it's really important that doctors continue to get continuing education, that we know not only about what we're really into, but what all the options are. Because if you don't share and you're the only person that patient is seeing, they may not know what their options are, or they might go Google it and really scare themselves.
Right.
So, I have a background in teaching science, and I'm a mom, so I teach all the time. But I think that when you really get the doctor ego out of the way and really focus on the patient and them being empowered in their decisions, then the best care can happen. Like, patients need to know what their options are, even if they can't get that in your office.
That is so powerful. And being patient-centric is something that's really hard to find in a conventional practitioner. And yeah, I love your point of continuing education too. I know that you're someone who's always studying, whether I know you recently got your health coaching certification as well.
I sure did. And that was really fun to get after becoming a doctor, because I didn't have to be so stressed out, honestly. I mean, I love being a physician, but our boards were, over the top. I studied from the same books my MD friends did. Plus I had to know herbs and homeopathy, and it just felt so huge. And it was very taxing. So when I got my health coaching certification, I got to have a little bit more fun supporting people and being in the process without being afraid I'm going to hyperventilate, which is how I felt towards the end of becoming a doctor. So I've gained some wonderful skills being a health coach. I thought that I talked with my patients a lot about breathing and skills to just stay centered. And I thought that I did that. But when I became a health coach, I realized there's so much more that we can do. And maybe don't jump quite so quickly to talking about herbs and supplements, and maybe spend a little more time seeing how your patient is feeling.
This is true. This is true. Excellent. So I know you recently got back from a healing retreat in Costa Rica, a beautiful healing retreat, and you spent a lot of time out in nature, creating and resting all of those beautiful titles and roles that you serve. Can you elaborate more on the power of retreating, whether that be trips or retreats cultivated at home?
Oh, absolutely. So, the concept of going on a retreat, I love. Of course, I've been on 4 yoga retreats, and this was my first healing retreat led by an ND, which was really great because I got to be, the patient per se, and she was giving me my chlorophyll shots and having me do my journaling, and I got to experience what I usually do for other people, but I got to experience it in the middle of a blue zone in Costa Rica while there were howler monkeys, off in the distance. And it was so incredible for me. And I just absorbed every moment of it. And I know that ND, Alicia Johnson, she's just incredible, but she saw how much that meant to me. And before I left, she was asking if we wanted to do retreats together, because she could just feel that I absolutely glowed in this setting, and not just in we all need a retreat, we all need to get away and get some sleep and do some yoga and eat some healthy food, but that it completely filled my soul. I was taking pictures of the women there and showing them how amazing they are. I was teaching people how to surf. I was getting to be the patient. I mean, it just all came together, all the things I love. We were talking about organic skincare and wiping coconut oil straight from the coconut right on our skin.
That's so cool.
It just literally incorporated everything that I love in one place. But what I realize is that not everybody gets to go on retreats, right? For some of us, it's a scheduling issue. For some of us, it's a financial issue. Or what about the last 2 years being stuck at home? During COVID, hardly anybody got to travel. So how do you take that kind of feeling? How can you make that happen at home on a more regular basis? And this is something I've always believed in, but recently it's really solidified. So 20 years ago, I visited a hospital in Hawaii that had a huge increase in recovery time and positive responses. And basically, people were getting healthier and happier and out of the hospital faster. And the only change they had made is they put skylights in.
Wow. That's phenomenal.
Yes. So literally, patients got to feel real light on them instead of just overhead fluorescent lighting. And whatever they were in there for, they got better faster.
Man, that's so cool.
Yeah. And to me, that's just a testament to we need to rethink how we do clinics, how we do hospitals. Again, somebody in brain surgery, their room needs to look a certain way. It's got to be sterile. It's got to be this. It's got to be that. But I think we are way too sterile across the board when it comes to the spaces that we provide for healing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree with that more.
Thank you. So my goal is to continue to work on not only within my own businesses and my own practice, helping people integrate retreat style healing on a regular basis, whether that's meditating more at home, reducing clutter in their home so it feels like a healing space, adding a place in their home that is a space to do yoga or pray or meditate, spaces like
breath
that.
Work, yeah.
Exactly. Or, asking the people closest to you, whether it's family or friends, if you can take some weight off of each other here and there. Like for me, I mom all the time when I'm not working. I almost didn't go on this retreat because I felt so guilty leaving them.
Wow.
And yet, how are they supposed to learn from and be inspired by me if all I ever do is work and feed them?
This is true.
I think, yeah. So it's important to put yourself first sometimes and to help each other in whatever kind of community or family situation you have, is to say, okay, where do I get a break? And I get to go restore my soul and my spirit. And then I'll do the same for you.
Yeah, no, I'm a big believer that your highest health and natural genius presents itself when you're most rested, you're most joyful, you're delighted, and you're just filled with inspiration. And retreating is something that I know a lot of moms and just women and all people, I'd say, kind of look at it as like, oh no, I always have to be like in a state of production. Like, how is this going to serve me? How is this going to serve my craft, my work? How is this going to make me more money? But when we do these sorts of things and take time to put all that stuff aside, we come back to our mission, our purpose, our work, just with far more fire and far more insight and creativity. So I think it's a really powerful tool for both our soul and for our work in the physical realm.
Awesome. I love the way you just described that. I completely agree. And so one of the ways I want to try to make that retreat style of healing more available here is when I offer retreats, I want to allow for more volunteers. So people in the community who want to be part of a retreat who can't pay $3,000 or $4,000.
Right.
It shouldn't be an elitist option. Just like naturopathic medicine shouldn't be an elitist option. And it's hard to get it covered by insurance and it can be expensive. So one of the things that's been important to me since I was a student was to make sure that we find ways to make natural medicine available to everyone. And two ways that I do that is through my skincare line. I donate some of it, but also the education around it when people read that and then they know what they can use, they can do some of the doctoring for themselves. Trying to be more active on social media, which is harder for me, to be totally honest. I'm much more comfortable with putting other people on the covers of magazines and sharing their incredible work. It's harder for me to say, here's what I know. But I realize if we aren't willing to share and we're stuck being shy or being small, then we can't help others. So I'm trying to write more. I do a lot of magazine covers, but I'm starting to do more articles so people can feel empowered in their health and know what their options are. As far as retreats, for example, I volunteer at a school called Eje in El Cajon, and the families and kids there have 2 days a week where there's a free clinic shift that Bastyr students run cool. with a supervisor, and so they can go get free ND care, and
that's
it's incredible.
Yeah, took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, so when I was a student, I offered to be on every single shift there. Like I was in El Cajon as often as possible. But now, years later, some of the kids that were part of that program then created health and nutrition programs at their high school.
That's so cool.
Those kids I want to have come to my retreat for free, and maybe they help out, and then they get to be part of it. And so there isn't this, oh, sorry, you can't pay $4,000 for a retreat, you don't get to experience that kind of healing. Like, right. I really want it to be more accessible. So that's one of my goals now, is not only to continue to share natural medicine through publication, articles, getting out there more, sharing more, but then also, how do I get the community to the retreat/clinic center? How do we make it more available to them? Because it shouldn't just be the people who have that money that get to have that care.
Couldn't agree more. And that is such a powerful space that you serve. And it's beautiful that you're seeing the ripple effect from your volunteer work at those clinics. And now you see those students incorporating health and wellness programs into their high school. And it's coming full circle, because now you're on the side where you want to create retreats and you'll want to host them for free and have them volunteer and serve in this capacity that they're also passionate about. So I love seeing that ripple effect. That's incredible. With all of that retreat talk, mention of being outdoors and spending time in nature, can you elaborate more on the power of connecting with the earth and spending time outdoors? How does this help us heal, experience life at a higher level? And why is it something that is important to you and important in the healing process?
Oh, that's a great question. So there are multiple layers to why getting into nature is so important for healing and just for living a life of health, right?
Right.
On the smallest level, when we are inside our apartments and houses and clinics and office buildings, we are physically disconnected from the earth. And when you're physically connected, there's an emotional disconnection as well. And I think we get so used to it that we don't realize that we're not fully experiencing our life or our senses, right? So one of the simplest ways to reconnect to nature without, planning a vacation or learning how to surf or even going on a big hike or something, is just to say, how can I connect my senses to nature? And the easiest way to do that, I think, is to literally take a moment and take a deep breath.
Love it.
Even right now, like, oh, air is really amazing. Slowing down, taking a breath, feeling my body with this wonderful air that provides me life. Just even taking, 8 seconds? I feel better already.
I do too.
Yeah. So I think sometimes we make it too hard on ourselves. We make it really complicated how we're going to connect more to the earth, how we're going to be, we come up with these giant ways that we're going to change our lives, and that's great. And what are the little steps we can do right now? We forget to breathe all the time and we get stuck up in the top of our chest. And just now we take a deep breath and immediately I feel better. And immediately I'm appreciating this beautiful earth more.
Such a,
and a couple,
such an easy tool. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. And a couple other ways is like, go right outside your door and just listen. And maybe it's the sound of nature, maybe it's the sound of jackhammering, but somewhere you're gonna hear nature. You're going to hear a breeze or a bird or something that connects the two of you. And then you're connected more to the earth again.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Such easy tools that we all have access to.
Yeah. I think that those simple tools are really profound. I remember one of the first lessons that I learned in naturopathic medical school from Dr. Moira Fitzpatrick was, she showed us a study. Patients who hadn't been getting better, refused to do lifestyle changes. They were part of an integrative study where they were trying to reduce the number of medications for high cholesterol and diabetes and things like that. And they were told to do all these healthy things that NDs like, right? Like take your supplements, drink your smoothies, drink more water. And it wasn't going well. It was too much. It was overwhelming for people who their whole life had grown up on the standard American diet. You know, it was overwhelming.
Right.
You know, and that's why the concept of meeting a patient where they're at is really important. The study did was they stopped telling people to do all these massive changes. You know, don't change everything about your life and now you have to like go be a Zen yogi. They literally, the physician team said, instead, we want you to just eat outside.
Oh, wow.
That's it.
That's
eat whatever
awesome.
You want. Change what you eat whatever you want. Just eat outside, like eat outside at a picnic table or a grassy knoll. Don't eat while you're driving or watching TV or working. Literally just eat outside. The results, Natasha, were incredible.
Dang.
Once people just slowed down, they chewed slower, they looked at nature while they ate, they started wanting to make better choices.
Absolutely.
Within a couple months, the food choices just started getting better. They started drinking more water and less soda. They slept better. And the doctors didn't tell them to do any of that. They literally just had them eat outside.
Wow. Like what is in nature that is gifting us this desire to live at a higher level? Like that's pretty powerful.
Exactly. And that's where your wonderful title, Highest Health, comes in. I think that we can achieve our highest health when we are connected to the earth and connected to each other.
Completely agree. I think it's such an understated concept in the modern world. Like I feel like a lot of people say it, but slowing down is hard.
Yeah.
And slowing down and connecting to the earth can be hard, but it doesn't have to be. I mean, a simple breath, taking a deep breath is powerful.
Yeah. And it doesn't take that long, right? You know, so for all of our like type A personality people listening to this who are like, I can't take time to eat outside every day. I can't do all this woo-woo stuff you're talking about. Well, couple of things. Just think about how much better you feel just taking a couple deep breaths and closing your eyes. You will be more productive.
Absolutely.
If your head is spinning at whatever your job is, you know, you could be a big business executive. I don't care what it is. If you are not connected to your body and connected to the earth, your work isn't going to be as productive. So if we can just trust that slowing down a little bit and offering more self-care will actually not only make you healthier, but it will make you more productive. You will think more clearly. Work will get better. Things will just naturally start happening. Trust me. Slowing down will make you more productive. Don't worry.
I totally believe it. And it's something I've experienced too. It's something that you just mentioned was things will just start naturally happening. I feel like when you operate at a higher level, whether you call it like a higher vibrational frequency, like things just start flowing to you in a natural sort of way that takes no effort. And even with myself, I can experience it like when I'm not having a good day or my vibe is a little bit lower. Everything just seems so much harder. Even things that I enjoy are just so much harder. Whereas like if my vibe is high and I'm feeling great, like I could be doing something that is totally not something I'm passionate about, but it just feels so good. And I could be washing the dishes or mopping the floors, and it's just an amazing feeling. So I think it is definitely really important to prioritize our self and keep our vibrational frequency high.
Oh, so true. So true. I love that example. Yeah, absolutely. I know. Oh, my mom's calling.
Okay, you can take it if you want.
No. That was my amazing mom who raised me with papayas and surfing and body work. I'll call
I was just thinking we should have her on the show because she sounds incredible.
She really is. But what I was going to share was, right when I graduated from ND school, I tried to just do what I thought I was supposed to do. I tried to fit into just that clinical model that I was told I needed to do. I got hired by the top integrative clinic in San Diego, and I was working 50 hours a week plus. I was making good money. I wasn't seeing my children. And I was taking care of lots of people in an integrative setting. That was the role that someone else created. And I figured out how to fit in that. And there was lots of good things about it because I got to be an ND and help lots of people and work in a wonderful integrative clinic. But that wasn't the model that I created for me.
Right.
And yes, I needed to do that for a little while because there were bills to pay and student loans to pay off. But I started to get more and more unhealthy physically and emotionally. And I kept trying to convince myself that I was supposed to be in this model because that's what was created for me. And the more unhealthy I got, the more I realized I couldn't stop doing the things I loved that were outside of that model. I had to be creative. I had to share who I am beyond a doctor who sits at a desk and talks about natural medicine. And it took a little while to get back to that person. And I was nervous at first because there aren't a lot of doctors who own a photography business and a clinical practice and focus on raising confident health. That was a niche. And for me to jump into that made me nervous. But once I did it, just like we were talking about with once you make time for your health, once you make time for self-care, when I decided that I was going to care for my patients in the best way that I could serve them, which needed to include being creative about health, which needed to include celebrating their health, all of a sudden, everything happened, just as we were talking about.
Yeah.
I make a lot more money now than I did in clinic in somebody else's system.
Absolutely.
My health is better. I see my kids more. And I had to trust that taking better care of myself mentally and physically was the right way to go. And as soon as I did that and started taking pictures again and started talking about natural medicine at home and lifestyle and not just, writing a treatment plan for somebody in clinic, once I got out of that box, everything got better for me and my patients got better too.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I'm sure your ability to serve your patients improved drastically as well.
Yes, 100%, because I'm happy. I'm a better example for them. Absolutely. I have more energy for them.
Yeah. It's phenomenal what happens when you serve in a space that's authentic to you and true to you, how all of the other pillars just kind of fulfill themselves, like health, prosperity, happiness, they just all sort of come together when you're operating in this space of authenticity, I would say. So that's beautiful. I'm so glad that you found that for yourself.
Thank you. And I wanted to share that because I know a lot of people, doctors and allied health professionals like us, who are struggle because they feel that they have to work within a certain structure. And yes, you may need to for a little while if finances are an issue or whatnot, but always remember that you can think outside the box and you can create a different reality for yourself, just like we need to do with our healthcare system. So many people still just trust what the MD says, don't know all their options, and live not as healthy as they could be because they aren't willing to branch out. And so I just want to remind people to stay inspired and know that your health and your whole person are going to do better when you trust yourself a bit more instead of just trusting the system.
Trusting ourselves is so important, and we have an intuition that is often discredited, but when we sit still and we connect with our intuition, I think we receive the answers and the healing that we're looking for in so many external places. The other aspect I wanted to ask you about is the importance of connecting with our body. And I guess what sparked that was talking about intuition, and you briefly mentioned it as well. I know something that I experience is when I haven't prioritized movement, I just don't feel myself. And when I get back into prioritizing movement, I feel like so much tension releasing.
Oh, 100%. So movement is a foundation of health, right? There's a few of them. Like, if we can take care of these foundations, we're going to feel really great. And those are like sleep, hydration, digestion, movement, and I would say community and connection. And so with movement, it's so funny because it's so easy to get out of the rhythm of movement. And yet we all feel better when we move more. I've never heard anybody say like, nope, I'm way healthier since I started sitting around more. Definitely. Like, never have I heard this ever.
I've not heard that either.
And yet it can be challenging to stay motivated. And I know for me, a couple of the things that help me, one goes back to, I try to appreciate my health and my body every day, because I almost didn't have that. When I was 13, that accident I told you about, like, we were lucky to live. I'm lucky that I can surf and do yoga, and let alone just walk around. I'm lucky I could have my children. I remind myself to appreciate that every day. And I think that's really important, because it's also so easy to get stuck in the negative in our lives. And I could have very easily went down the path of, my private school and my, walking in on a red carpet to the running club got taken away. And I would just become a teenager. I could have gone down a bad path at that point and felt sorry for myself. And instead, partly because I had amazing people around me, I went, okay, how am I going to get through this? How am I going to get past this? How am I going to take the best care of myself so that I can heal? And to this day, 30 years later, movement, yoga, walking, those are all part of my healing on a regular basis. As soon as I go 3-4 days without exercising, I feel exactly where I broke my neck.
Wow.
It starts hurting and I get migraines, and it's like my body going like, you know what to do.
Right. Wow.
Yeah. So just a reminder for everybody, even if you haven't been through something that physically intense, which many of us I have in one way or another, like, continuing to move, continuing to lubricate our body, keep the circulation going, get the toxins out of the skin by sweating. This is all so important, and it affects every other part of your body.
Absolutely.
And that's going to look different at different ages. You know, my 11-year-old's a competitive gymnast. I'm not doing the crazy things she is. And for my grandma, it's literally just walking around and remembering to put her legs up on the wall once a day to get the edema out of her ankles. You know, like movement's different for all of us, but we all need to do it.
Yes. More so a way to honor our bodies and operate in a space that is going to serve us and others at a higher level.
I like to think I'm a pretty nice person in general, but I'm way nicer when I come out of yoga. Like, you could ask me for anything right after a yoga class.
Really good to know. Yeah, you are a really nice person in general. I'm like, I don't think she can get any nicer. Where is she going with this? But valid point.
But I think that's all of us, you know. So if we think we don't have the time or the energy to move, just make a little time for it. Don't try to run a marathon, you know, baby steps, and just start feeling better.
Yeah. And the other point that you mentioned was community. I love how you brought this up and how it's one of the foundations of health. It really is, like, who you surround yourself with is so impactful. I'm glad you brought that up.
Thank you. And I'm glad you re-brought it up, because that is one of the best ways to start incorporating movement when it's tough to do on your own. Buddy system all the way. Have someone help you be accountable. Natasha, I'm so glad you brought it up, because that's huge. When it's hard for us to when we can't do that consistently for ourselves, bring someone else in, support each other. That is a fantastic way to start bringing more movement in on a regular basis.
Yes.
Have people that you do it with and you hold each other accountable.
And have fun with it too.
Yes, the fun too.
Well, thank you so much for coming on today, Natiya. It's been such a joy to have you on. I know we've worked together in different capacities and you've helped me in different capacities. So it's just such a real honor to have you here on the show.
Oh, thank you so much.
Where can listeners find you, Natiya?
Oh, yes. Okay. So the easiest way, if you still use the internet, is just my website is Natiya. It's just my first name, Natiya, and that links to everything that I do. So if you want to know more about seeing me as a patient or coming to a future retreat, that'll be there. If you want to see my collection of published work and the beautiful women and healers I've got to support, that is there. And there will be a link to my skincare line there as well. On Instagram, I just started my personal page, so it's very small. So you can come be part of it. It's just Dr. Natiya Guin. And then my Deep Living businesses are on there as well. So for pictures and articles, they can go to deepliving_studios. And for skincare and wellness products, they can go to deepliving_skin.
Excellent. Phenomenal. Thank you again, Natiya. Such a beautiful person you are.
Thank you, Natasha. You are. I feel so honored to have you in my life.
Likewise. I'll catch you on the other side. Thank you for listening to Highest Health. If you gained value from today's episode, leave a review, share with a friend, or post on social media. If you're interested in achieving your highest health or already pursuing it, send me a DM. I'd love to hear from you.